Hi everyone, this is Patricia and I'm so excited to share my first project and blog post. This is a 3 to Inspire blog post with Citrus Twist Creative Team. So my prompts are to use the cork numbers, which are awesome, and to use the coordinating cut file called Telling My Story, and to stamp onto the cork numbers. You'll see that in a little bit. Now what I want to do is I used the numbers, the cut files, to create a background. You saw that earlier. And I'm going to layer those cork numbers on top. Now I'm using the stamp that comes with the Life Crafted kit this month. And there are labels in the ephemera pack that are identical to this. But I ended up backing those numbers with pattern paper, and I wanted the simplicity of having my labels to be exactly the same color ink. And I was inspired by a scripture verse, so that's why I stamped them out and I drew a pencil line right down the center so that I would know as I typed this where I needed to add an extra space. And then I'm going to start pulling out some of the pattern papers. Now I use that same cut file from Citrus Twist to cut these little pockets here. Now I did resize them a little bit and made them smaller because I was not going to use them to tuck in journaling. So I did pick those pattern papers from the kit, and I'm going to stay with those colors because they are really nice soft colors and they complement each other well. And now I'm going to start backing these numbers. To quickly get through backing this, I measured the piece that I trimmed freehand, and I trimmed a bunch of them, as you'll see in a little bit on the left, and then I can quickly use my liquid glue to go along each number of the outline and then back it. I haven't used my silhouette in a long time because I've really been using my manual machine to go with dies that you would purchase with stamps and things like that. So I really haven't used my silhouette a whole lot, and this was always a fun technique, and it's really cool to see how it's still so popular right now. And I like that this is creating a nice soft textured background, and it's a nice contrast for those cork numbers. Now this is an easy background to back with the pattern paper like this because the numbers really don't overlap too much into the other numbers. You'll see every now and then I'll pick it up, and if I get a little bit of the pattern paper to go over into the other number, I can turn it over and see that, and then just use my scissors and just trim that spot. Like right here, I'll be trimming that 2 is going into the 3, so I'll just trim that away. So while I'm finishing this up, I wanted to talk about the scripture verse. The reason why I went with the scripture verse with the numbers, I loved the cork numbers as soon as I saw them, and I was trying to think of a really cool way to use them. I happened to be reading Psalm 136, verses 1 through 3, which is 1, 2, 3. And it says, "Give thanks to the Lord because he is good. His faithful love continues forever. Give thanks to the greatest God of all. His faithful love continues forever. Give thanks to the most powerful Lord of all. His faithful love continues forever." And it just kept repeating like that, but I realized it is saying something different each time. And I thought, well, that really is a cool verse and an easy way to do some documenting here. So that's what I typed on the stamped out labels, was the give thanks written different ways. And then I'm going to type on a separate label for the right side of the page, his faithful love continues forever, which also repeats within that. So everything that I have here is going to tie back into that verse. And you'll see a little bit later that I even put the Psalms 136 at the top on one of the labels from the kit. Now here is the second prompt. I'm going to stamp on the cork numbers. I wasn't sure at first if I wanted to. I was kind of itching to alter them a bit, but sometimes I really like the natural cork look to show. But I saw these arrows in the stamp set that comes with the Life Crafted kit, and I was like, oh, that really is cool looking. That would add even more texture. So I really like the look of it. You can use any stamp. I'm using my Memento ink. You could use a dye ink, but you'll see a little bit later when I'm adhering that too. When I turned it over on my desk, it wasn't dry yet, the ink. So just be careful of that. The ink may still be a little wet. I decided to go with a little bit of a layer, like we'll have those numbers to layer or overlap just a little bit over each other. So to do that, I'm using some foam adhesive just on the 1 and the 3. That 2, and here you'll see that ink gets on. Now, if you do use an ATG gun like this on the cork, these corks aren't thin, but cork is still a little fragile, so just be very careful and hold it really well, and don't handle it too rough. I think I would cry if I tore one of these beautiful numbers. They're so pretty. So I hear that too, and then I can foam in here the 1 and the 3. Now I need to place the label on the 3 because I need that 3 kind of over a little bit to the left. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that part of the label into place so that I can get that 3 adhered. So I really like the look of this page. I wasn't planning on it being as busy, but I like the softness of the die cut letters, and I like the pattern paper. Everything is soft enough with enough color, enough contrast, but the cork numbers really stand out because of the contrast between the background. So that worked out perfectly. Now I had my labels kind of staggered a little bit, but I realized that's a little too difficult to read. So I'm going to make sure that they're in line with each other. So I pulled out, this ephemera pack is packed. So it did take me a little while to pick out some items, but I picked out some items that I thought really went well and blended in and created more texture, like the flower, the stars, and the write it down arrow that I used at the top. This page or spread is a combination of a faith-based, almost a, faith journaling, but it's also documenting because I do bring in a picture. And the picture that I bring in is a shadow of the 3 of us going to church. And right now my daughter is 10 and it's a little difficult to get her to go to church. So I am very thankful that we all go as a family. So it really has a lot of meaning. So here are those tags or those little pockets that I die cut from that same telling my story cut file from Citrus Twist. I really like how they look grouped like this. So I'm going to grab a couple of other die cuts from the ephemera pack. I typed the Psalm 136 : and the cork numbers are the verses, the 1, 2, 3, and then I use a label to type the rest of the verse that goes with each one of those. His faithful love continues forever. So I'm just going to fiddle with this. I bring in the pencil because it ties in with the write it down die cut that I used on the left page, and another star. It ties it all in together. And once I decide how I want it, I stitch those into place. And then I adhere those to the bottom right side of the spread. Now I grabbed the stamp set that comes with this Life Crafted kit, and there's so many great phrases in this. I love the font. I love that they're nice and small, don't take up a lot of space. So I want to add something that ties in with all of the story, and there's some really good ones here. But the one that I picked for this is, it says, "You've always been there for me." And then later you'll see I trimmed that label that I have, "His faithful love continues forever." I end up using that at the top, underneath the top of the photo. And then I stamp on top of that through thick and thin. So you'll see everything that I added. I'm going back and forth between one of the phrase labels, and the chipboard pieces. And I go with the chipboard piece. I like the sentiment, and it ties in well with the story. And that is my 3 to inspire. It's the cork numbers, the digital cut file, and stamping onto the cork numbers. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I can't wait to see what you create.